Welcome to a spine-tingling journey into the depths of terror. In this chilling YouTube special, we're about to unlock the eerie secrets of 3 notorious haunted houses, each with a horrifying tale to tell. Prepare to be gripped by fear as we delve into the shadows of these macabre dwellings. From malevolent spirits to unexplained phenomena, these stories are bound to send shivers down your spine. Join us as we explore the most haunted houses you've ever encountered. But be warned, once you enter there may be no turning back. Brace yourself for an unsettling encounter with the unknown, as we dive headfirst into the darkness of these haunted houses. The Haunting of Ravenswood Manor. The moon hung low in the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the decrepit mansion that had long been a source of fear and fascination in the small town of Ravenswood. The old house had stood abandoned for decades, hidden by a shroud of twisted vines and gnarled trees that seemed to reach out and claw at anyone who dared approach. For years, the locals whispered tales of a curse that had plagued the mansion and the untold horrors that awaited within its decaying walls. A group of intrepid urban explorers, drawn together by their shared obsession with the supernatural, gathered at the edge of the overgrown property. Their flashlights pierced the darkness, cutting through the oppressive night. Among them were Sarah, the fearless leader, Mark, the skeptic who hoped to debunk the legends, Emily, the tech whiz armed with an array of gadgets, and Alex, the thrill-seeker who saw this expedition as the ultimate adrenaline rush. Sarah, a tall woman with fiery red hair and piercing green eyes, took the lead. "All right, everyone, remember the plan," she said in a hushed tone. "We stick together, document everything, and don't touch anything we find. This place has a reputation for being haunted, but we're here to find the truth." As they approached the mansion's grand entrance, the heavy oak doors creaked open as if beckoning them inside. The explorers exchanged nervous glances, but pressed on. The once grand foyer was now a cavern of darkness, illuminated only by the soft glow of their flashlights. Dust-covered chandeliers hung low from the ceiling, and the air was thick with a musty, long-forgotten scent. "Let's split up and search for clues," Sarah suggested. "We'll meet back here in an hour." The group nodded in agreement and began to explore different parts of the mansion. Sarah ventured up a grand staircase, Mark headed towards the basement, Emily inspected the living room, and Alex disappeared down a dimly lit hallway. As Sarah ascended the staircase, she felt a sudden drop in temperature. Goosebumps prickled her skin, and a sense of dread washed over her. At the top of the stairs, she found herself in a narrow hallway lined with closed doors. She approached one and slowly turned the handle. The room was shrouded in darkness, and she could make out the faint outline of a dusty, old-fashioned bed. Sarah aimed her flashlight into the room, and her breath caught in her throat. The room was filled with antique dolls, their glassy eyes staring back at her with an unsettling malevolence. As she backed away, a chilling voice whispered in her ear, "Play with us, Sarah." Startled, she spun around, but there was no one there. The voice had sent a shiver down her spine, and she hurried back to the foyer to regroup with the others. Meanwhile, Mark had descended into the basement, where the air was thick with an oppressive darkness. His skepticism wavered as he explored the dimly lit chamber. In the corner, he discovered an old weathered journal. Its pages were filled with the ramblings of a previous occupant, someone who had been consumed by fear and madness. As he read aloud an ominous passage, the room seemed to come alive. Shadows danced across the walls, and the temperature plummeted. Mark felt an icy hand close around his wrist, and he let out a scream. He tried to pull away, but the grip only tightened. Back in the living room, Emily's gadgets began to malfunction. Her camera displayed distorted images, and her electromagnetic field meter went haywire. She heard faint whispers in the static, urging her to leave before it was too late. Terrified, she stumbled backward and collided with a wall. Her flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into total darkness. In the hallway, Alex had encountered a series of locked doors. He felt a growing unease as he tried to make his way back to the others. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, and each door he passed began to rattle and shake. Panic set in as he realized he was trapped, and an eerie laughter echoed through the corridor. Back in the foyer, Sarah waited for the others, growing increasingly worried. As the minutes ticked by, she realized something was terribly wrong. She called out their names, but her voice was met with silence. With trembling hands, she retraced her steps, following the trail of fear and chaos left by her friends. As she entered the basement, she found Mark, still struggling against the unseen force that held him. His face was pale, and his eyes were wide with terror. Sarah tried to free him, but the grip was too strong. Desperation set in as she realized that her friends were scattered throughout the mansion, each facing their own nightmare. And with a sinking feeling, she knew that they had unwittingly unleashed an ancient evil lurking within the cursed house. The horrors of the mansion had come to life, and the urban explorers were trapped in a nightmare from which there might be no escape. Whispers of the Past, the Hawthorne Mansion Haunting. The old mansion, hidden away at the edge of a forgotten town, had always intrigued Isabella. When her estranged great-aunt passed away, leaving the decaying estate to her, Isabella was both shocked and hesitant. But the pull of her ancestral roots was too strong, and she decided to visit the mansion, hoping to discover the secrets of her family's past. As she entered the dilapidated mansion, a shiver ran down her spine. Cobwebs clung to every corner, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay. Dusty portraits of stern-looking relatives lined the walls, their eyes seemingly following her every move. Isabella's first few nights were uneasy, the mansion's creaking and groaning amplifying the eerie silence. Strange occurrences plagued her. Whispers echoed in the dark, and footsteps echoed in the hallways when no one was there. She often found doors open that she was sure she had closed, and the temperature would inexplicably drop, chilling her to the bone. Determined to uncover the mansion's secrets, Isabella delved into the archives of the local library. She learned that the mansion had been built by her great-great-grandfather, Elias Hawthorne, in the late 1800s. He was a wealthy and reclusive man, known for his eccentricities. Rumours swirled that he had dabbled in the occult and made a pact with otherworldly forces for his prosperity. As Isabella continued her research, she stumbled upon a journal written by Elias himself. In its pages, he chronicled bizarre rituals and dark ceremonies he had performed within the mansion's walls. He spoke of summoning entities from beyond and the price he had paid for their aid. The more Isabella read, the clearer it became that her great-great-grandfather had opened a portal to the spirit world, binding vengeful entities to the mansion. The spirits sought to reclaim what they believed was rightfully theirs, and Isabella's inheritance had made her their target. Desperate for answers and driven by an insatiable curiosity, Isabella began conducting her own research into the occult. She hoped to find a way to appease the vengeful spirits and put an end to their torment. Late one stormy night, as Isabella pored over her great-great-grandfather's journal, she heard a chorus of whispers, faint and haunting. The room grew icy cold, and she felt a malevolent presence drawing closer. Terrified, but resolute, Isabella followed the instructions in the journal and drew a protective circle on the floor, hoping it would shield her from the spirits. In the dim candlelight, the mansion's atmosphere grew tense and the whispers grew louder. Shadows moved within the circle, and Isabella's heart pounded in her chest. She felt the spirits' anger and resentment as they clawed at the barrier she had created. She knew she had to make amends for her ancestors' sins. With trembling hands, Isabella recited an incantation, offering the spirits her apologies and pleading for their forgiveness. As she spoke the words, the room shook and a violent gust of wind blew out the candles. The spirit's presence retreated, leaving Isabella shaken but alive. Over the following days, the mansion grew quieter. The vengeful spirits, though not appeased completely, had withdrawn, their anger quelled by Isabella's sincere plea for forgiveness. Isabella spent years researching ways to fully release the spirits from their torment, even as she became a recluse in the mansion. She knew she had to break the curse entirely to find peace. She learned that the only way to do so was to locate the relics used in Elias's dark rituals and destroy them. With determination and courage, Isabella ventured into the labyrinthine depths of the mansion, uncovering hidden chambers and secret passages. Each discovery brought her closer to the relics she sought, but it also brought her closer to the malevolent spirit's wrath. As she located and destroyed each relic, the spirit's power waned. With the final relic destroyed, the mansion trembled one last time, and the spirits let out a mournful cry before fading away into the darkness. Isabella had finally broken the curse that had haunted her family for generations. The mansion, once a place of horror, was now her own, free from the vengeful spirits that had plagued her. She had uncovered the dark secrets of her family's past and put them to rest, but the price she had paid was immeasurable. The experience had aged her, leaving her as a solemn guardian of a mansion that would forever bear the scars of its haunted history. The Whisperer's confrontation, unveiling the spectre sense. Mark had always been fascinated by the supernatural, and his latest obsession was a paranormal detection app he stumbled upon while browsing the dark corners of the internet. The app, known as Spectre Sense, promised to uncover hidden spectral entities lurking in unsuspecting homes. Skeptical but intrigued, Mark downloaded it onto his smartphone one gloomy evening. The app had a simple interface, a radar-like screen displayed nearby locations, marked with eerie blue blips. As Mark walked around his neighborhood, he noticed the blips occasionally flaring up, indicating possible paranormal activity in nearby houses. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to investigate further. Following the app's guidance, Mark arrived at a rundown, abandoned house that had stood empty for years. The windows were shattered, and the once white paint was now a peeling, ashen grey. Weeds choked the front yard, and the air was thick with an unsettling silence. The blip on the app's screen pulsated wildly, indicating that this house was a hotspot of paranormal activity. Feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation, Mark hesitated at the threshold of the derelict house. He pushed the creaking door open, and it swung ominously on rusty hinges. As he stepped inside, the temperature seemed to plummet, and an unsettling sensation washed over him. The air was heavy with foreboding. The house was a labyrinth of decaying rooms and rotting furniture, each corner shrouded in darkness. Mark's smartphone cast eerie shadows as he cautiously explored, the Spectre Sense app guiding his way. The blip on the screen led him deeper into the heart of the abandoned home. In a dusty, cobweb-laden room, Mark's flashlight revealed an old diary. Its pages were filled with the handwritten accounts of a previous occupant who had experienced unexplained phenomena in the house. As he read the entries, the words seemed to come alive, recounting terrifying encounters with an entity known as the Dark Whisperer. Mark's heart raced as he continued to read about strange whispers in the night, eerie voices that urged the writer to do unspeakable things. The final entry described the writer's descent into madness, the words becoming increasingly erratic and incoherent. As Mark put down the diary, the room around him seemed to shift. Shadows danced on the walls, and the air grew thick with an otherworldly presence. He felt a cold breath on the back of his neck, and a voice whispered in his ear, "You shouldn't have come here." Startled, Mark spun around, but there was no one there. Panic began to set in as he realized that the malevolent force mentioned in the diary might still be lurking within the house, and it was aware of his presence. The Spectre Sense app's blip led him to a narrow, dimly lit hallway. Each step echoed with an ominous creak as he followed its guidance. Suddenly, the app emitted a deafening screech, causing Mark to drop his smartphone in shock. The screen shattered on impact, leaving him in darkness. Alone in the pitch-black hallway, Mark fumbled for his flashlight. As its beam cut through the darkness, he saw a shadowy figure at the far end of the corridor. It was tall and menacing, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through his soul. Mark's heart raced as he tried to back away, but his feet felt rooted to the spot. The figure moved closer, its unearthly presence filling the hallway. Mark's breath came in shallow gasps as he realized he was face to face with the Dark Whisperer. Its voice echoed in his mind, a chorus of tormented souls that sent shivers down his spine. Mark's smartphone suddenly sprang to life, its screen displaying a cryptic message. To banish the Dark Whisperer, you must confront the darkness within. Desperation and fear gripped him as he tried to comprehend the meaning of the message. With trembling hands, he closed his eyes and focused on his innermost fears and regrets, allowing them to surface. As he did, the malevolent force drew nearer, its presence becoming more oppressive. Mark felt an overwhelming sense of dread, but he pressed on, confronting his own demons. A blinding light erupted from his smartphone, forcing the dark whisperer to recoil. Mark opened his eyes to find himself standing in a now empty hallway, the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The Spectre Sense app had seemingly banished the malevolent entity, but at a cost. Mark's encounter with the dark whisperer had left him changed, haunted by the horrors he had confronted within himself. As he left the abandoned house, he couldn't help but wonder about the true nature of the app. Had it been a tool to uncover the paranormal, or had it been a conduit for malevolent forces all along? With a heavy heart and a sense of unease, Mark deleted the Spectre Sense app from his phone, vowing to never delve into the dark corners of the supernatural world again. But the memories of that fateful night would forever haunt him, a reminder that some mysteries were best left unexplored.